Okay. Thanks, Gogo. Can't believe I made that mistake twice. Okay. Now I am actually recording, so now I will actually do attempts. Well, I mean, it's just one tech problem leads to others. I mean, that's not really a tech problem, it's an idiot problem. But like, I was dropping frames, so then I had to restart shit with OBS, and then because I did that, I forgot to start recording again, and so... No, Cell Silver has been used for many years, but only for this category. The glitchless. Well, not really due to the max rebate, but that is part of it. Heart Gold any percent is like hit lots of thunder, so it's kind of like Stadium. The biggest problem with Heart Gold any percent is that any rerouting requires an absolute metric shit ton of work. Because if you mess with almost any part of the route, you have to redo all of the blue and red manips. Yeah, I mean, it takes several people, several days, to do one of them, one of the red or blue manips. Most of them are found just by trial and error. I think MK had a bot that could try and program it, but I don't know how efficient that was either. Because I think, like, on the spreadsheets you could see, like, everybody who had found the manips, and MK bot, it did feature, but it didn't feature that much. I don't think there's any doubt that Gen 4 has the best glitch runs of the Pokemon games. Well, I mean, it's Platinum and Heart Gold Soul Silver. Those are the two really good ones. Because as much as speedrunners may not want to hear this, warp to the end glitch categories are actually not that interesting after, like, watching it the first time. See, Gogo, the thing is that you've pissed me off enough that I can't talk. No, that, like, you know what strings to pull, right? You figured it out that if you end up beating, when you end up beating the Platinum any percent time with the shitty old route, that will end up motivating me to do the route properly, because I'll be so annoyed that it doesn't use the best route. I mean, I wasn't particularly... Nice, 10-1 crit. I wasn't particularly thinking about coming back to this run until I had a look at Buster's run and saw him buy Flamethrower and then use Flame Wheel on Clefairy. I was just... As soon as I saw that, I was like, well, I've got to beat this shit. Remember when I told you that idea that it was like, oh, you could enter the house, right? And we were like, oh, that's time loss. I realized like a few days after that it's not time loss, it's game crash, because you would enter a load after the Abigail tweak. I mean, the thing is, though, is that with the... unless you fight the trainers, obviously, no matter what Tentaframe you have, it's never going to be consistent. NPCs can always own you. Yeah, well, I mean, in the time it takes to load, they can always do their cycle. Because it takes more than 16 frames. Like, it takes over a second before you can move from a save. Something like that. Kalos is a genuinely good region, but the XY games are not well made. I find it hilarious when people complain, like one of the complaints that people have about like Sword and Shield, which there's a lot to complain about. One of their complaints will be like, oh, there's no evil team, that's so bad, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, if you took the evil team, Team Flare, out of X and Y, they would be much better games. But like the general like environments and atmosphere of Kalos was actually enjoyable as a game. It's just that when you're playing through the main story, you're just stopped by these annoying pricks all the time talking about bullshit. Go back to this part of the game. It's just, that's not what you want to do at all. I still need to take no extra damage from these Bellsprouts. And I just took 2 from the spell sprite. Frick! No, I'm not going to get 13. Alright, I need to crit this Bellsprout right now. Crit. This one also did 2. I was going to heal after that. Like, if that did 1 damage, I would have healed. But given I still had a chance to crit and skip the heal. Like, if I have a chance to skip the heal, I'm always going to wait until that chance doesn't really exist. The odds of 2 damage is 1 in 16. No, because I would have been at 5 health at Hoot Hoot. That's not a mandatory heal. If you're 1 after the Bellsprouts, you get to 5 at Hoot Hoot. One of the major things that was wrong in the Morty split, actually, was that I lost Manip in Ilex Forest, which is in the Whitney split. But that meant that I had a Dratini that wasn't Manipped, so it didn't have the speed to beat Clefable, so the double fight was bad as a result. That's the only thing I can remember. There was probably something else. But all I really remember about my PB was that I didn't keep Manip. I fell in the gym? Yeah, that sounds like me getting a PB. I think falling in the gym is only like 9 seconds or something though. Hi, Buster? TY? I love that question right after Buster's message. I mean, you could interpret that as if they're asking Buster. And the answer would be yes. But I do not have the record now. I hope so. 332 or better. Ugh. Really? That may have been the first time I've ever done that. So you're supposed to stop and then turn around to talk to Cyndaquil, and you can't turn around without moving unless you stop. And so in that case, I didn't stop. I went to turn around to look at Cyndaquil, but there was no time where there was no directional input. And so it kept fluid movement and just walked backwards a time. Yes, Whitney is a bad fight in this run. All of the gym leaders before you get Raikou, I'm pretty sure. Whitney's actually not really bad at all in Manipulus. Pretty free with Furo. As well? God. That is an annoying comment. You do it in Crystal also, but it's like, it's been done in Heart Gold Soul Silver for years before it was ever done in Crystal. I mean, I've run... I don't know, just look at the profile. I've run a lot of them. All the ones that are worth running. But these days I tend to play the DS ones a lot more because there's just too many issues with all of the other ones. You people really know the kind of shit to rile me up, don't you? How is that cool? How have there been like a dozen people who have said that? Like, do you have a brain, or is this just some random meme shit that just gets parroted? Oh, this route is cool, and so everybody just says it. Oh wow, this game uses Abra now, that's really cool, what a route. Like that isn't already used in 8 fucking different runs. Sorry, Sapphire sucks. Fucking deal with it. Oh my god! How did I mess that up? Alright. Once to lead, that's probably still actually fine. So I ran Sapphire once. Ever. Once. Do you know why I ran Sapphire once? It's because at the time, people were trying to convince everybody that Blaziken was actually the fastest way to beat the game. Because they decided Blaziken was the best for like a contest speedrun, where you would win all the contests, and then they were like, oh, it must actually be the best for just beating the game. The most bullshit reasoning you've ever seen. And so I ran the game once to prove them wrong. And guess what? I'm pretty sure that run that I did back in 2012 or whatever the fuck used Abra. It's not a sour spot. I just hate when people say the same thing over and over with absolutely no substance. No substance to what they're saying. Sorry, I am never excited. It's got the high roll on Pidgey there, which is good. Hello? Man, I love that tweet that I put out, right? Where I was talking about how asking like an experienced Pokemon speedrunner to do a Nuzlocke is like asking a chess player to play tic-tac-toe, right? Which I agree with. Which is why I said it. Agree with myself. Big shock there. But I loved some of the responses that it got. I think the one that made me laugh the most was like, I don't agree with this statement because it makes it sound like Nuzlocks are easier. And I'm like, yep. Really? So I think the Gen 4 games have the best routes. Just because the Gen 4 games lend themselves best to speedrunning. I don't actually like Sinnoh as a region very much. But it's just the most interesting things that you can do with speedrunning in Pokemon games tend to happen in Gen 4. You're right, it's not a contest. Like, the point of the statement is that it annoys me endlessly how often people will ask me, oh, will you do a Nuzlocke? Blah, blah, blah. No. Just a huge no. Gen 3 GameCube? Yeah, well, I mean, it's less to do with Pokemon as well, and more to do with the fact that basically in any facet of life, I get annoyed when people are like, oh, this thing is popular, will you do it too? No. The answer is no. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Not what other people are doing. Soz for having brain. I have done lots of comp battling in the past, not in the current, because I'm not a fan of Gen 8. Comp battling I preferred the most was Gen 3 and Gen 4. I think Gen 3 was the best, but Gen 4 was the most fun. No. I've talked about this before as well, but people highly overrate the impact that the physical special split had on the games. And on battling, especially. Like, part of why Gen 3 was such a good era competitively is it was much more innovative and diverse in the pokes that you would use. Like, the perfect example is Gengar, right? Gengar's always been a good poke. But in Gen 3, it was just... You had no idea what the fuck a Gengar was going to do. It was good, but it was so unpredictable. If you just see a Gengar, it's like, what the fuck is this going to do? Whereas after the split, you see a Gengar, and you... Pretty solid chance you know what the Gengar is going to do. Wake up. Come on, Jeff. I like pancakes. Solid take. But yeah, like, the physical special split, I mean, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. I just think it's insanely overrated. Like, there's a huge swarm of people who just be like, oh, the game's just unplayable before this. Which made such a huge impact. And it's like, yeah, it made an impact, and it made things different. It didn't necessarily make things better, though. Some pokes definitely got a lot easier to use. Some pokes got a lot worse as a result. But I think one of the things for me that people don't really realize is it made things a lot more... what's the word? Not streamlined. But there's certainly a lot less innovation amongst how to use pokes as a result. Simplified is pretty close to what I'm trying to say. That was actually a useless crit, because now that I'm in Blaze, I could have just killed with Ember. One-dimensional is a good phrase, yes. It was a good Faulkner fight. It was not a good Hoot Hoot, though, so can't really say it was a good split. The burn on Pidgey was also a waste of frames, yes. Artificial? What do you mean? And then there's also, like, there are a bunch of Pokemon that got better in Gen 4, not because of the physical special split, but people kind of attribute it to that because something happened at the same time. So a good example of that is Crobat, right? Crobat is actually much better before the physical special split rule set, right? But it got better in Gen 4 because it got Brave Bird. Stealth Rock. So you see what they were trying to do with Stealth Rock, right? It was like, oh, they had spikes, which was great, right? And they were like, oh, but it doesn't hit the pokes in the air, so we need something like that kind of... Oh, we would like something that kind of counteracts that and hits flying pokes a bit heavier. But maybe not so much on ground pokes. But then maybe there was a... kind of didn't really think it through, and they're like, oh, super effective on flying, not very effective on ground. Yeah, let's just do this. And then it's like, well, it does a fair bit more than that. Alright, this one I would like to use Quick Attack. Thank you. That'll put me back into Blaze, and I'm still in Blaze after evolving. I mean, that's also true. That because, like, if a Pokemon didn't benefit, I mean, that's what power creep is, right? If other pokes are getting better around you and you're not getting better, you, by comparison, become worse. Thanks, Joey. I don't have a publicly planned, a public list of planned alt pokes to run. Because I don't want people to see something and be like, oh, he's going to run this, and then I route it out and decide it's not actually that fun. I both A, don't want to get people's hopes up like that, and B, don't want to feel pressured to do things before I actually do them. I have so many embers this run, holy shit. I probably could have just used Ember there again, because I have so many. I'm not in Blaze for Beedrill, which is quite rare, but if Beedrill misses me, I will not heal before Bugsy. I'll go in at 18. It's unlikely though, because you have to get either Fury Attack Miss or Crit Ember. Honestly though, any singles format that has team preview, like... sorry, any single 6v6 that has team preview, I'm just like, it's just fucking dumb as hell. And I just refuse to play. So... in Gen 5, they at least still had the Dream World tier, which did not have team preview. And it was fun to play, but then in Gen 6 it was like, well, okay, so all I can play is VGC, basically. What do we got? That's a crit. Alright, get the range for me, please. No. Useless sack of shit. Alright, I would actually like this to crit me again. No. So I'm not in Blaze, that sucks. And I have to take 2 hits for Metapod here. Crit me. Oh yeah, so the reason I use Quick Attack is because if he misses tackle enough, you can not use Ember to kill. Which has happened to me before. Well, I mean, not only does the Crystal speedrun use Raikou, it uses a very boring Raikou. I mean, it gets to the end of the fucking game with Thunder Shock and Spark. Just game. As you may have picked up from the last thing that I just said. I'm resetting this run. The time's not very good, but I cannot believe that I just did that. I just literally forgot that I'm supposed to walk that tile. Like, that wasn't... I can't really call that an execution mistake, because it was just... A mind mistake. A brain explosion. I just forgot that you're supposed to walk that tile. Like, I got the encounter, I'm just like, why did that happen? Oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. I really don't think that run was going to PB. The time was very bad. It was not a good start at all. I mean, it still could have, of course, but it was not a good time. Yeah, see, again, I mean, that or Vanillux's ice cream, Garbadora's trash garbage that got parroted around for ages when Gen 5 dropped. That's the kind of shit that I was talking about before, where I get annoyed when people talk without substance. Because that's exactly the kind of shit that I'm talking about. There's absolutely no substance behind those statements whatsoever. It's just someone has said this, I will parrot it back, and it just becomes so entrenched within people, despite having no substance at all. Don't get me wrong, Garbodor's not a good design. Yes, Unpheasant is such a bad book. I mean, I talk about the monkeys a lot, but oh my god, Unpheasant is shit. I mean, I hate the monkeys. The thing about the monkeys, though, is that when Gen 5 came out, it's like they were so... No, even before they came out, when they were just advertising for it, it's like they were so proud of the monkeys. It's like, oh, this is so cool, and it's just like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. They were trying to push him very hard. Yeah, Gen 5 had some fantastic perks. I have played Earthbound, but not for very long. I did not like it. From memory. I don't like any RPG on the SNES, though. I've tried quite a few and not enjoyed any of them. It's not the first time that I've said that statement, and every time I say it, people start listing SNES RPGs like, but surely you like this one. No. I just said I didn't like any of them. Yeah, I mean, I think there's, in my mind at least, there's no doubt that the Pokemon were better represented as sprites than a lot of the 3D models do look like trash. But, I mean, from their perspective, it's not like they were going to release a handheld system called the 3DS and then have the Pokemon games, which were always going to be, you know, the flagship games of that system, not be in 3D. Like, that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a few Pokemon where it's like, if you look at all of, you know, the representation of them in the game, like you look at their sprite from, you know, Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then have a look at their 3D model, you're just like, why does this look worse now? And a lot of people obviously talk about, you know, the Typhlosion line and all this other shit, but there's a lot of examples. Yeah, changing the cries just doesn't feel right at all, does it? The thing is, as well, is that I think cries were very distinct to Generation before, as well, and that was really cool. It's like you could hear a cry and be like, alright, that's a Gen 4 poke, or, oh, that's a Gen 2 poke. Very often. From memory, I think one of the examples I used was Haunter for the 3D model, looking a lot worse than what it looked like beforehand. I think one of the funniest things about, like, one of the stories that about Sword and Shield that give a good representation of it is, so one of my friends who is not really into video games at all and had never played a video game until they were 20. So I was showing them different games on the Switch, and so they love Dragon Quest XI because they're just like, oh, it's such a pretty game. And I find it interesting watching them play the game because they don't really care about the game. They'll just go and like look at carpets in houses and be like, oh, this is so pretty, and all this kind of shit. And so they were like, all right, show me all the different games that you have on the Switch. And so I'm going through all the games, and they're just like, oh, this is so pretty. Oh, this is so beautiful. And so then I put in Sword, and they're just like, no, 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 show me the new games. And I laughed and laughed. I do not like Gen 7 now. I think they are the worst generation so far. Please don't take any more damage. Actually, if I go to 6, yeah, whatever. That's fine. Skip the extra. Well, I'm taking extra damage. And I've gone to 5. No, I did the right thing. I was like, I didn't do the extra, like, talking to Cyndaquil, but I'm not in Quadrant 2, so I'm not supposed to. God, I'm finding it hard to concentrate on the game today. Muscle memory can only take you so far. See, I big time disagree with that. I think everything that was bad in Gen 6 was worse in Gen 7. Oh, that's a good hit. So, I mean, I played and streamed through both Sun Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. And there's very little of the games that I actually remember. Kind of, the only points that I remember is the point where Luzamine goes batshit crazy, or doesn't go batshit crazy, because that was kind of the only point where I'm like, oh, this game's actually different. And the ghost trial, where you're trying to take a picture of the Mimikyu. And the reason that I remember that was because that was the point where my stream got DMCA'd by Nintendo of America for getting the game because I'm an Australian and having it legally. They did not say sorry. In fact, they actually issued 2 DMCAs on my stream within like 2 minutes of each other. So it's like they did it, and then they were like, no, what the fuck? Do it again! Take it down! No, no, no. This was actually going to be a good time. 9 me. Oh, fuck, I'm healing that. That sucks. Yeah, I have been. You're not wrong. Like, my stream has been taken down quite a few times, and they were all bullshit. What I found funny about when I got the DMCA from Nintendo of America, and this is why I specified that it was Nintendo of America, was I think I was talking to Trihex like maybe like 1 week before that happened, and he was talking about how, no, Nintendo of America, they're actually like, they're starting to key in to what is actually going on nowadays. It's Nintendo of Japan who are so fossilized. And then that happened, and I laughed. I didn't laugh straight away, though. I was quite upset immediately. Yes, I was registered to the Australian eShop so I could get the games sooner. Yes. Yes. I'm Australian. How dare I register to the Australian eShop? I mean, that's got to be the most American comment of all time, though, doesn't it? Like, thinking someone is, you know, grafting the rules by registering to the Australian eShop, not realizing that they could potentially, you know, actually just be an Australian human. Well, I mean, that was the funny thing, is that there were so many people who were streaming on Twitch the games, as they always do, that weren't even legal copies of the games. But how dare this man buy our product directly from our eShop? Like, not even from a retailer, directly from their shop. How dare he? We will take him down. That's cool. Jeez, I am nowhere near Blaze. Usually in this situation, given how many embers I have, I would quick attack Ember Coughing, but Coughing's not even going to hit me into Blaze. Should I double quick attack Rattata? 12... 11, 9, 6... Yeah, 9. Yeah, I should actually double quick attack Rattata. So that I can double Ember Coughing. Alright, that'll do. Who needs Blaze when you can just crit quick attack? Look, I can't say much about China. One thing I can say, because I have been to China while going overseas, but just in the airport, because it was just a run-through. Beijing Airport is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Definitely the prettiest airport that I've ever been to. If I miss this, then I'll use quick attack. No, don't do that. I have been to several American airports, yes, because I have been to America several times. They were all shit. Every single one of them. Shit, 14 poison. Can I actually make this work? So now I'm just at -2, right? So I just take 2 extra steps. Okay. Now, so my airport stories from America. So there was the one at JFK where it was on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I can't remember. But the line to get in to have to go to security was so long. It was like it wrapped around one of like the stalls inside the airport. But then it was still would continue to go outside of the airport. Like, the automatic doors would just have to keep opening and shutting because people would be outside of them. The line was so long. And then when you got through the line and you got through the wrapped around the stall, there was this first guy who, because the line would still be continuing onwards from that point, who would give you a ticket. And it was literally a lottery from that point. There were 3 different lines. And you would get a ticket to be like, oh yeah, you can go into the really short one, or you can go into the medium one, or nah, you have to go into the really long one. And so you might think, well, surely they're just checking your ticket to see whose flight is coming up sooner, right? So that the sooner people would go into the shorter lines. No, that was not the system, because we had 3 of us on the same flight who went into different lines. We were just bewildered at that. There was Philadelphia, which had directions to go out of the airport instead of in. Like, it's like, just follow this to get to the gate, follow this to get to the gate. You are now outside of the airport. What the fuck? And that's where I had to do my my little bag trick to get back into the airport to actually make my flight. Where, you know, like, they have the, you know, those velvet lines that squiggle around and whatever. So to get back into the airport to actually make my flight, I did the bag trick, which is you, next to one of the lines, you kneel down. Oh, I've got to take the 2 steps. Ah, that was not the smartest place to do it, but I made it work. You kneel down to check something in your bag, like open up one of the zippers or whatever, and then come up on the other side of the velvet line. And so I had to do that like 8 times to make it back in. Cut through the line. Which is very unethical, of course, but I had to make my flight, so whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And then the other story that I had, which was the first time that I went to America, when I went alone. And I went to... So, the final day, it was a Washington airport. I don't know which one. Because there were like 3. I can't remember which one. I could look up my flight details from years ago to actually figure it out. But, like, the airport was abandoned when I got there. I have no idea how this was the case. It seriously, like, even when I think back to the memory, which I know is true, it doesn't feel true because it doesn't make any sense. But, like, the plan landed, go over to go pick up my bags, and there's just no one in the airport. There's, like, one receptionist for the, like, rental cars or whatever, but there's just nobody else there. It made no fucking sense. But I also had no idea where my bags were, because I'm like, this is where the bags are supposed to be, they're just not there. And there's just nobody in the airport. So I'm like, where the fuck are all the other people from the plane? Where did they go? Did they have their bags? What has happened? And I had to legit walk around the airport. That's gonna kill me. This run's dead. Go around the airport for like a good hour trying to find my bag, because it was just at none of the carousels. Just completely fucked. And I ended up finding them. All of the bags were just stuffed into like this small security room. They were just all stuffed into that room. And everybody else's bags were still there, or I assume so, because there were tons of bags in there. So everybody else had just disappeared. They just stuffed the bags into this one room. And everybody had just gone to sleep or some shit. I don't know. It was pretty late. And so I had to go in there to get my bag and then walk out. And then get a taxi to my hotel, which I think is the only time I have ever gotten a taxi in my entire life. And it being my first time in America, obviously, you know, I'm not quite familiar with what's going on. But I had to give the taxi driver directions to where I was going because they kept getting lost. And so I'm giving directions to a person whose job it is to take you to destinations. I'm giving them directions on where to go when I have never been in the country before. No. Yes, well, I mean, so one of the cultural differences that you do have to learn about America is you're supposed to tip people in America, whereas you don't, like, tip anybody here. But I can assure you that taxi driver did not get a tip. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, the system in America in that regards with tipping is absolutely corrupt and absolutely fucked. Just pay them what they're supposed to fucking get earned. Get earned? Nice English, dude. But it's like, oh, when you're over there, it's like, I mean, you should obviously do it so that they actually, you know, have a living income. But that being said, if someone is literally incompetent at what they're doing, I'm still not going to give them extra money. I'm sorry. I mean, tipping itself isn't a dumb thing, but it should be what it actually is. A tip for doing something, like, it's an extra, you know? It's not... it doesn't work when it's you're supposed to always tip. That doesn't make sense. That means you're supposed to pay them more. That means the system is broken. The COVID experience for me has been pretty much the same. Like, almost nothing has changed. The thing is, Australia has done it pretty well comparatively to other countries. I mean, with a situation like this, obviously we're quite blessed being a fucking island in that regards. But I mean, the joke that I was saying when COVID kind of first hit is basically, you know, oh, this is depending on who I'm talking to, whatever would annoy them more. Either, you know, or this is God's, you know, message, or this is the universe talking, right? Basically telling everybody to be more like me. Never leave the house, work from home, only interact with people when strictly necessary. And then I got absolutely trolled when, after saying this joke too many times, I got a letter in the mail for jury duty. So I had to leave the house and interact with people. But as I said, that was when it kind of like first hit, so that did get postponed by several months. But I still had to do it. Jury duty was interesting, yes. It was interesting. It was... The case that I had was actually quite confronting. But it was kind of at the backdrop of what was going on in my life at the time. So as soon as they read out the charges, I was like, I'm going to be the first one they call. And lo and behold, I was the first one that they called. So the way jury duty works here is basically you're on for a month. And so you can get put on, 0 trials, depending on what happens. You can get put on 1, you can get put on multiple. Because if you get a really quick trial, like one that only lasts for like 2 days or whatever, then you go back into the pool and you can just get put on another trial. But you can also, because basically you go into the courtroom with more than 12 people, with like, 24 or whatever, and if you don't get called for the 12 people, or you do get called but they challenge you and you don't end up sitting, then obviously you don't get put on that trial. But I got put on only 1 trial. It lasted for 3 weeks, so I didn't get put on another one. It was quite a long trial. So the case was... A man was accused of a sexual relationship with his daughters, and also physically assaulting his daughters and his sons. So there were 8 different charges. He was found guilty of 4 of them, and not guilty of 4 of them. Yeah, like I said, it was quite confronting. Because it's like, a case like that as well, it's more confronting than even something like a murder case, right? Because And the main reason, from my perspective anyway, is if you're doing a murder case, you don't get to hear the victim talk. But in the case that I did, literally the first week, the entire first week, was nothing but hearing these two girls talk. Well, so I mean, the way jury works, in case you're not familiar, is so there are 12 people on the jury, and then you basically hear everything that gets said, and then you go away in your little room, and you talk amongst each other in the little room, and come to a decision on the charges. So the one thing that I'm not allowed to talk about the case is what we discussed in the room. That's the one thing that I'm not allowed to say anything about. I can talk about the case because, I mean, now that the case is finished, it's all public record. And all of the evidence that was presented in the case and all of that. We only went to trial with 11. We didn't end up making it with 12. But you can go to trial with 11. You can go to trial with 10, actually. But so with 11 people, you need... The way it works is you either have to all be unanimous in the decision, so either everybody thinks the right outcome is guilty or not guilty, or if you wait for at least 4 hours in deliberation after the entire case is filled, 10 of you have to agree. There can be one who doesn't agree. But with 10, everybody has to agree. Well, I mean, the way it works varies from country to country. I'm obviously talking about how it works here. Then I imagine state to state in some places as well. Again, the one thing that I can't talk about is what was actually discussed in that room. What? So another thing that happens that I can talk about is, so you're allowed to ask the judge questions, and the judge that we had was actually excellent. But so I asked. Well, I mean, you don't just ask. You don't just be in the courtroom and go, "Hey, can you explain that a bit better?" It's you write down a little note and give it to the sheriff, who passes it to the judge during one of the breaks. And so I did ask one of the questions, which I think we asked like 3 or 4 questions in total, and most of them were pretty dumb, pretty basic. They just explained it and whatever. But the question that I asked, as soon as the judge got the question, she was like, "Ooh, that's a good question." And so then, and this was funny as well, so they were like, we're going to have to discuss this. And so they went, no, they didn't go to break. They deliberated over the question before giving us an answer. And so there were still COVID restrictions while jury duty was happening. So we couldn't go into what's normally like the little room where we discuss things. We were actually in another courtroom so that there would be enough space for the 12 of us to actually distance from one another. But while they were deliberating about this question, we were actually just shunted into one of the rooms anyway. So they ended up breaking the restrictions, which I found hilarious because I'm like, we're in a literal courtroom. And this is where we're just like, nah, we don't really care about the restrictions. Because they were like, oh, it'll just be, 5 minutes or whatever while we deliberate about this. It was over an hour while they were coming up with a question. So it's just like, what the fuck's the point? If in here we're not going to adhere to the rules, where the fuck are we going to adhere to it? But so the question was, because the charge specifically was... well, two of the charges with the daughters was... I forget the exact phrasing, but it was... like, it was an unlawful sexual relationship. Rather than unlawful sexual assault. And so it was, like, to be guilty of the charge, you had to have been proved to be, doing one of the following acts, which is basically having sex or, some kind of sexual thing on more than one occasion. And so my question was, and I posited what the answer would be, but I'm like, this needs to be clear, is because the way the charges were laid out, it's like, all right, so you have to do one of these things more than once. And so I'm like, okay, so what if it was more than one of those things on one occasion? Like, so if you're having sex and having getting a blowjob on the same occasion, like within the same thing, those are two different acts, but does that count as multiple times? Because the way the charges, the way it was actually worded, it wasn't particularly clear. And so to me, I was like, I don't think that would count. I think it would have to be on two separate occasions, because the charge is an unlawful sexual relationship. The reason it would have to be on more than one occasion is because they're trying to build that it's a relationship, so it would happen more than once. Which was the same answer they gave back. But I was like, it still needs to be clear. Yeah, I mean, it can be manipulated by sentiments and whatever. And so you're not supposed to sit on a jury if you do have any bias, obviously. This is common knowledge. But one of the things... So it was kind of going on at the same time as there were a lot of people in the gaming community kind of being outed for sexual abuse and whatever. Which is why, like, when I read the charges, because I was dealing with this in a number of different ways. But when you're in a jury room and you're dealing with a case like this, so if you've been sexually abused, you shouldn't be sitting on the jury because you're likely to have a bias towards it or to get impacted by the case or whatever. But that actually means the jury ends up being biased. Because one of the things that I found quite difficult is when you're dealing with it in a social situation, you go in with whatever and believe victims, support victims, all this kind of stuff. But when you're sitting in the jury room, you have to be completely neutral. And neutral feels morally wrong. At least in my experience, that's what it was for me. Like, neutrality feels morally wrong. But like the other point that I was trying to make is that you're going to get a jury, or you certainly can, full of people who haven't experienced sexual abuse in some way or another. And I'm pretty certain if you took 12 people at random, at least one of them would have experienced sexual abuse in some way. So it's not actually an accurate representation of, an average 12 people. And I mean, so I'm actually quite good at detaching my emotions. So, but even for me, it was quite confronting. So I'm like, it would have been really bad for some people. But it was something that I did take quite seriously. One of the jokes that that I would say afterwards is basically I took more notes in that 3-week trial than I did in 13 years of school, which is probably accurate. Took it very seriously. Alright, go back again, please. Well... Oh, okay. I was going to say, well, I'm not going to get Blaze now, but I guess I will. But I don't need it because I got the burn. You do get paid. You get, like, $20 a day. And then lost wages as well. That varies from state to state, though. Quite a lot. Well, for me, it actually... The timing of that worked out quite nicely, because that was when I was actually earning the most money while speedrunning. Because it was right when I was doing the all-gold Prince speedruns. So my lost wages, quote-unquote, were actually quite high. And I could just be like, oh yeah, this is what I've been making. Give me this. And they did. I don't know what that means, but I assume you mean the deliberation? Like, the jury's deliberation after the thing ended? I'm actually not certain that I can say that. I probably could, but I'm not 100% certain, so I'm not going to. I assume it would be in the public record, but I'm not going to make a guess. Oh no, they don't do that here. They don't have a Q&A with the potential jurors from the attorneys. What they have here is basically, so you go in with more than 12 people, as I said, and there's like a lottery system. So they call out your number. And then as soon as you call out your number, both attorneys are allowed 3 challenges. They're just allowed to say challenge, and then you're not picked. And they're allowed to do that with absolutely, they don't have to give a reason. They can just do it straight away. There we go. Well, yeah, so I mean, from a strategic point of view, if you think about it like that, they can do it based on, you know, looks, age, gender, whatever. But of course, again, from a strategic point of view, you can think about it like, you know, if you've got, you know, someone accused of, you know, domestic assault against women or something, and you keep challenging women to be on the juror, you don't particularly make yourself look that good as well. I mean, again, this was during COVID time, so a lot of people weren't actually working anyway. Or they were doing, like, you know, work from home stuff or whatever. I think we had quite a good jury, though. I've really enjoyed the stream today. It's been good. Just in a good mood today, I guess. This is going to be my last run, though. Correct. This time I won't double quick attack Rattata. Because this time I've got the embers. I could do quick attack Ember on Coughing. The problem is I don't need to, because I have 2 Embers, and so it doesn't make sense to, because, I mean, he can Smoke Screen or Smog Miss or some shit. And I missed a 15-16 on Zubat. One of the things that I found most off-putting when I first started the trial was you're given the charge sheet, and at the start it gives you what the case is. And so it's, you know, I'm expecting, you know, it's, you know, the state of South Australia versus blah, 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 you know, the defendant. Or maybe, some whatever of Australia versus blah, blah, blah. And it was none of these things. It was the Queen. Yeah, I'm not surprised that would be the case in England. But in Australia? Really? The Queen? I actually don't know how long the sentence was, because the sentencing isn't done at the same time as delivering the verdict. The sentencing is actually done purely by the judge, and that's done, generally like a week or 2 weeks after the verdict is delivered, and does not need the jury whatsoever. The evidence was hard to listen to because, like I said, it was literally the girls giving the evidence. Who were, they were adults now, but they were giving evidence of things from years ago when they were children. Leer isn't good. And focus energy. Oh, nice crit. I'm nowhere near Blaze! Oh my god, do I go for non-Blaze Ghastly? I think I have to go for non-Blaze Ghastly. This is a really good run, and if I'm being safe, I shouldn't do this, but I think I've got to go for non-Blaze Ghastly. Well, I'm committed now, because I just ended Metapod. This is a massive risk. Going in at 16, he's guaranteed to quick attack turn 1, Jimmy. So, like, the only way I win there is if, without healing, is if I crit the Ember. So it's not really worth the risk. At 17 I could, but not at 16. Okay, so the problem here is without Blaze for Ghastly, Ghastly is going to survive an Ember. And so if Ghastly uses Curse, I lose. If Ghastly uses Spite, I run out of Embers, and then I can't hit the Ghastly, so I lose. If the Ghastly uses Lick and paralyzes me... Oh, no, that's generally alright. Because I do have para heals, don't I? The problem will be that Ghastly will then outspeed me, and then probably use Curse or Spite, and then I lose. So my options are, Ghastly uses Mean Look. Good. That's the one good move. Ghastly uses Mean Look. Or I crit the Ghastly. Or I burn the Ghastly, and then it picks Spite, because then it'll die to the burn, after I have no Embers. I just messed up the movement. Okay, so even if I get this, I'm fucked. I just completely messed up the movement. How do you save this? I was still fine when I went up one too late. Oh, when I went up one too late, I was like, oh, this is fucked. But then I realized, oh no, it's not. I can still be fine. And then I missed the next turn, and then I was fucked. Well, I lost anyway. Yeah, so I have nothing to hit the Ghastly with now. This is why you commit to Blaze, but I was just such high health, and you're so rarely at 38 after killing Scyther. Like, I would have had to sit there on Metapod for how many turns? Oh no, he did use Leer, didn't he? So... 6 turns. I would have had to just Leer 6 times while he hit me into Blaze, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, the run's just dead now. I can't win, because the way Ghastly dies is with Curse, and with Curse I can't beat Crocodile. Alright, like I said, that's going to be it for me for today. I had a good time streaming today, so that's good. Tomorrow is actually going to be the Battle Factory event, so there's going to be a bunch of us doing, essentially like we're doing a race, but it's not going to be a race. We're going to be doing the Battle Factory to see who can get the longest streak. And it's going to be like, so you've got 2 hours to start your streak, and then you can just finish whatever you've got from there. So that someone's not done after like 1 second. So that'll be fun, so I'll be back for that tomorrow. So thanks for watching, everybody, and peace, have a good one.